observe and analyze day-to-day situation. Okay, and this day-to-day situation, it could be something that you're familiar with or something that you are not familiar with. Okay, and you must be able to link the situation given to you and explain using clear scientific concepts. So this is the key. Okay, you must be able to answer using, explain using key scientific concepts. Okay, let me use a drawing. Okay, so the key here is explain using scientific concepts that you have learned in your syllabus. Okay, and please remember that the question that they ask you, it could be something that you are familiar with, day-to-day situation, or it could be something that you are not familiar with, something totally new. All right, but however, it's not that something that it is beyond the syllabus. There's no way. Don't worry that PSLE will test you something beyond the syllabus. It will not be fair to everyone. All right, PSLE, they will test you exactly what is within the syllabus. However, the questions day-to-day situation which you are not familiar with. However, you have to apply the concepts that you have learned in throughout your primary school science to the situation. Later, I will elaborate to you a little bit more on what I mean by this. Okay. All right. Now, these are some examples of application questions in the PSLE. Okay, these are some examples of PSLE questions. This was taken from last year PSLE. A milk was fitted tightly into an empty glass jar. Mary placed the lid in hot water. So the question asks, after a while, she found it easier to remove the lid. Explain why. Okay, so this was last year's PSLE. All right, so you can see this is a day-to-day situation. There's no experiment, right? There's no experiment, there's no graphs, there's no data, tables, and so on, but it gives you day-to-day situation that you may encounter at home. Okay. Now this is another example, taken from past PSLE question. Okay, if I say that I'm too fast, okay, I'll go a little bit slowly. All right. So those of you who are lagging, right, you may have to check your internet connection. Okay. I cannot help you at my side. Okay, but don't worry if those of you who have problems viewing. I'm recording this and I will upload and I will email to your parents within today or tomorrow. Okay, so don't worry if you have poor internet connection. All right, let me move on. So this is last year PSLE question. Okay, let me read to you. Miss Polly wants to remove water from the ground using a water pump when it rains heavily. Okay, he uses the setup shown below to turn on the water pump. All right. Now, do you think you have seen this setup in real life before? Do you think you've seen this in real life before? Anyone? Yes? No? Most of you. I've not seen this setup before. All right. But this is happening probably in some countries, okay, where they use water pump, right? They have this setup to generate water pump. Okay, so this is something that we are not familiar with. However, the concepts that is relevant to this question, okay, can be applied. You have learned the concepts, so you need to apply the concept that you have learned to the situation given here. This is last year PSLE question. Oh, Haris, it came out for your prelims, huh? Okay, but this is last year PSLE. Okay, this was last year PSLE question. All right, let me. Okay, this is something that I've discussed in class also. Wen Hao went for a swim. He came out of the water. He felt cold. Right? He felt cold. So at that moment, a strong wind blew and he felt even colder. Then the question asked, 2-mark question, explain why he felt even colder when a strong wind blew. Okay, so this was, I think, 2 years ago, PSLE. And this situation, I believe everyone has this experience. Right? All of us have been swimming. And when we come out from the pool or from the seawater, and we will shiver, right? So the question asks, why? And when the cold wind blew, he felt even colder. Right? Okay, let's take a look at the next question. Okay, this is another question, all right, on the topic of forces. Okay, the diagram shows a platform. The diagram shows how a platform can move a man on a wheelchair up or down the stairs. So you can see this platform, and this man is on a wheelchair. And instead of taking the lift up, so there is a platform that uses electrical energy, right, that helps this person to move up the stairs. So the question is, explain why the platform uses more electrical energy when it moves the man up the stairs than when it moves down the stairs. Okay? All right? All right, let's take a look. Later I will answer, I will show you how to approach this question. All right, another question, question number 6. So today I'm going to discuss at least 6 questions. Okay, so this is the topic of electricity. Okay, study the circuit shown below. When Ahmad closed the switch S, he noted that iron ball moved up and down between points A and B. And the light bulb here turned on and off repeatedly. Okay, so in this diagram, the iron ball was resting on 2 iron contacts. Explain why the bulb light up when the iron ball was at point A. Okay, so there is a series of questions, 3, part A, part B, part C, and I'm going to share with you how to approach and answer this question. All right, so this is, yes, is a past PSLE question. Okay, so you can see PSLE question, there are lots of application question. Okay, in the PSLE booklet B, there are lots of application question, and you can see that some of the questions you may have some experience with it, but some you may not have experience at all. So what are you going to do? Okay. Okay, so this is another example. Animal haze lives in the desert. It stands on hot sand with its 4 long legs. Excuse me. So based on the above findings, explain why having long legs is an advantage for animal haze. Okay, again, this is a past year PSLE question. You can see this is a camel. Some of you have seen a real life camel. I have seen a real life camel. I have ride on a camel, but most of you may not have the opportunity to ride on a camel. But all of us know that a camel has long legs, right? So here they ask you why having long legs is advantage for the camel. Okay, all right. Now, so this is the key. So I want all of you to focus on these 4 steps. Okay, I want all of you to focus on these 4 steps. Now, can all of you take a piece of paper and your pencil or pen? Can you write this down right now? Okay. All right. Okay, so first, students can follow the following steps in approaching application question. Okay, step number 1, observe and list the key objects mentioned in the question. All right, you need to look at the question and you see the key objects. Step number 2, recall and identify the science topic. Okay, identify the science topic. Okay. Step number 3, after you identify the science topic, you need to identify the science concepts. Okay, identify the science concepts. Okay, so after you identify the science concepts, you need to, step 4 is the most important part. You need to explain, right, the scientific concepts or the scientific phenomenon in the question by linking the science concept back to the question. So this is the part where many students, you lose marks. Because number 1, some of you may choose or identify the wrong topic. Secondly, you may identify the correct topic, but you identify the wrong concepts. Example, in the topic of water, you have evaporation, you have condensation, right? You have melting, you have boiling. So if you identify instead of condensation, you identify wrongly as evaporation, so your explanation will definitely be wrong. Thirdly, even if you are able to identify the correct science concepts, which I believe most of you or many of you are able to do so, you are not able to explain fully what happened. You are not able to fully explain using the scientific concept and link back to the question. Now, this is the problem where many students face, and some of you try to explain, but you did not explain fully. Okay, you do not have the correct answering technique or answering skills to explain fully, and you lose marks. You either get 0 marks or you get only half the marks. All right. So this step 4 is the key. Okay, it's the most critical. All right. But before you reach step 4, you need to identify. You need to go through in your mind thinking process. Step number 1, step number 2, step number 3 before you are able to explain. If you don't even know what topic is being tested, if you don't even know, you don't remember, you cannot recall the concepts, how can you answer? Step number 4. Okay, so this is not something not very easy, right? Many students, when you see an application question, you don't even know what is being tested. Okay, so that's why application question can be quite challenging. Okay, so I do not blame some of you because it's indeed very challenging, right? Every year, MOE, PSLE, they will come out with very innovative questions, very creative questions, very interesting questions, which will test your understanding and your ability to link the scientific concepts to the situation, to the new situation given to you. Okay, in fact, we teachers, we are also very excited to see the science paper because we are always very excited and very interested. We find it very interesting to see the kind of creative questions in the PSLE. Okay, all right. Now let's start. Okay, let's go back to the first questions. First question that I show you just now. Okay, let's recall. A metal lid. This is last year PSLE question. A metal lid was fitted tightly onto an empty glass jar. Mary placed the lid in hot water. So this very if you put something, you close the lid tightly, you may have problems opening the lid. So what Mary did was Mary put the entire glass jar with the metal lid into a jar of hot water. Okay, so let's recap. Step number 1. Okay, step number 1, observe and list the key object mentioned. Key object. So here you need to open your eyes. You need to use your perhaps your what we call your highlighting technique to underline or to identify the keywords. Okay, many students they tell me that they don't read the questions, especially when the question is very long. Impossible. You need to read the question. If you don't read the question carefully, you do not identify the keywords, then how can you solve the question? Right? Okay, so you can see here, key objects, number 1, empty jar made of glass. Right? So this empty jar and you have glass, right? So you understand this is a material which is made of glass. And the lid is made of metal, right? The lid is made of metal. And please observe that both the lid and the glass jar, both are in the hot water. So you notice you need to observe very carefully. Okay, sometimes another question, it could be that only the metal lid is in the hot water. But however, in this particular question, you need to observe that both the glass jar and the metal lid is in the hot water. Okay, all right. So after identifying step number 1, the key object, step number 2, recall and identify the science topic. Okay, before you go into the concepts, you need to identify the topics. There are perhaps about, I would say maybe about 18 topics in total from primary 3 to primary 6, lower block and upper block. So you need to be able to identify the right topic first. Okay, this may be obvious, but in some more challenging questions, some students may not even identify the correct topic. Example, say topic on energy as well as the topic of forces. Many students mix up the topics. All right, gravitational potential energy, you confuse with gravity or gravitational force. They are totally different concepts. All right, so coming back to this question, so we can see that we know that this is on the topic of heat, right? Of heat, and more specifically about expansion, right? When an object, a matter is heated, it gains heat and expands. So step number 2, You know that this is under the topic of heat. Okay, Daniel, I will take your question. Can you take note and ask me later on? Okay, I will need to ensure that the process is smooth because we have about 6 topics to cover. Okay, like I say, if you have any question, please feel free to write down on a piece of paper, and then I have about half an hour only just to answer the questions. All right, so no problem. Don't. Okay, it's good that you are asking questions, but write down on a piece of that you have, and we will answer that at the end of the session. Okay. So step number 3, you need to identify the science concepts. Okay, the key science concepts. Number 1, we know that matter expands. Now, before it expands, now this is the keyword that you need to write: gains heat. Right, matter. In this instance, solid. Right, both glass and metal, they expand because why? It gains heat from where? From the hot water. Okay, and a bit of a side step, not only solid expand, please remember water also expand when heated, gas also expand when heated. And then what about opposite? Now some question they ask you, if you put in cold water, ice water, what will happen? Instead of expansion, it will contract. Okay, it will contract. All right. So after we identify the sign concept, so we know that matter gains heat and expand. Number 2, this is something very important. Metal is a better conductor of heat than glass. Okay, we know that metal is a better conductor of heat than glass, right? So that is the reason why when both objects are put in hot water, the metal expands. You can remove the lid easily, right? Why? Because the metal expands more than the glass. So this is the part where many students miss. Many students just say that, oh, the metal lid expand, gain heat and expand when heated. Wrong. Here, they are trying to ask you to compare the expansion of metal and glass. Okay, so this is the tricky part. Okay, Faris asks, how many marks will be deducted if they forget to write gain heat? Okay, if this is 1 mark question, it will be 0. All right, gain heat is very important. All right, I've already emphasized so many times in class, any topic involving water or heat, you must mention gain or lose heat. Right? For example, evaporation, gain heat. Condensation, lose heat. Boiling, gain heat. Melting, lose heat. Expansion, gain heat. Contraction, lose heat. So you must, if 2 marks, yeah, perhaps you get half mark or 1 mark. 1 out of 2. Okay. So let's move on. So step 4, then you explain. Once you identify the key science concept, then you explain. So as metal is a better conductor of heat than glass, the metal lid will gain heat and expand more than the glass jar. Hence, easier to remove the lid. Okay, so you can see this is the trap, right? Many students do not see this part here. Right? There is both glass and metal are put in the hot water. Both will gain heat. Right, both will expand. Both glass and metal will expand, but the metal will expand more. So that's why it is easier to remove the lid. Okay, everyone? All right, let's move on to the next question. Okay, right, we are okay, we are on track. All right, let's take a look at this question. This was last year PSLE question. Okay, let's read this together. Polly wants to remove water from the ground using a water pump when it rains heavily. He used the setup shown below to turn on the water pump. Okay, part A, they ask you a property of rubber that allows the setup to work properly. All right, number 2, describe and explain how the water pump is turned on when it rains heavily. Okay, so this setup, I don't think anyone is familiar with. Right? Unless you are an engineer, you work in, I don't think it exists in Singapore also, perhaps overseas. But this was asked in last year PSLE question. Okay, so this is an application question where you are not familiar with. However, you have learned the scientific concepts to explain this question. Okay, so don't worry. Let's see how to tell this question. Step number 1. Step number 1, remember, identify the key object. So you need to open your eyes very big. You need to observe very carefully. Okay, you can see here, this part here is made of metal rod. Right? We know straight away that metal rod are good conductors of they are conductors of electricity. And we have rubber here. Okay, rubber, you know they are insulator of electricity. Okay, rubber insulator of electricity. And you can see that this is an open or closed circuit. Right? So you can see that this is an open circuit, right? This is an open circuit. Okay, and you can see that this is a wooden block, and if you notice, it's a wooden block. Okay, and on top of the wooden block, you see a metal sheet. And wooden block, you know that wooden block is a non-conductor of electricity. They are insulated, and metal sheet they are conductors of electricity. Okay, so once we identify the objects, step number 2, identify the science topic being tested. So here is very clear that this is on the topic of electricity. Okay, this is topic of electricity. Yeah. All right. Okay, so step number 3. Once you identify electricity, okay, you identify. Okay, last warning. Those of you who are still chatting, Irfan and so on. Okay, please refrain from chatting and concentrate. Okay, I repeat again. Do not chat. If not, I've got no choice but to remove you from this webinar. Okay, so I need attention. We have 48 students now. Okay, we want everyone to pay attention. Okay, like I say, if you have any questions, okay, later on I will give you a chance to answer. So those of you who are, you are texting and so on, okay, later I will call you to answer some questions. All right. So at the meantime, please listen carefully. All right. Okay. So coming back to this question, we know that metal is a conductor of electricity, while rubber is an insulator. And electricity is produced when a circuit is closed, right? When a circuit is closed. So here, first we need to identify question number 1. State the property of rubber that allows the setup to work properly. We know that rubber is insulator of electricity. So this has to be an insulator. Why? Because when the metal sheet is not in contact here, right? Meaning that there's not much rainwater inside the metal container, this water pump will not work, right? Why the metal pump will not work? Because it is an open circuit, right? It's an open circuit. So you can see there's a gap here. What causes the gap? Rubber. Why? Because rubber is an insulator of electricity. So what happens when it rains? So when it rains, water will flow through G here. So when it rains heavily, water will flow through G, okay, causing the water in the metal container to rise. When the water level rises, the wooden block and the metal sheet will also rise, right? It will rise until it comes in contact with the two metal rods. So what happens when it comes in contact with the two metal rods? Okay, so it will form a closed circuit. Okay, so when you answer, you need to explain. You need to write down the concepts, right? The keywords. So when the metal sheet comes in contact with the metal rod, it forms a closed circuit. Right? It forms a closed circuit. So when it forms a closed circuit, what will happen? Right? Electricity will flow and turning on the water pump. Right? Turning on the water pump. Okay? Can everyone? All right. Very good. Okay, let's move on to the next question. Oh, someone asked me to speak softer. Okay, I'm sorry if it's too loud. Maybe you can just lower down your volume at your side. Okay, now let's move on to the next question. Okay, this is a past PSLE question. Again, I think it's 2 years ago. All right, so we can see Wen Hao went for a swim. Now, this situation, everybody is familiar, right? All of you are familiar with this situation. All of us have gone swimming, right? Have been to the sea, and when we go up, when we exit the swimming pool, we feel cold, right? With the water droplets around our body, and quickly want to take towel to wipe off the water. Okay, again, let's follow the thinking process. Step number 1, again, list the key objects. Identify what are the key objects, the clues given to you in the question. Right? So the clue given to you, number 1, he came out of the water. So you can see that at first he was in the water, and then when he came out, you can see that he was shivering. Wen Hao was shivering, right? He was wet after swimming, and then the strong wind blew, right? When the strong wind blew, he felt even colder. So the question is a 2-mark question. Explain why he felt colder when a strong wind blows. So as soon as you see an explain question and you see 2 marks, you must be prepared to elaborate your answers fully. Okay, you cannot give a slipshod answer, a few words. You must use your scientific concept that you know to apply to the situation. Okay, so once we identify objects, number 2, we need to identify the topic. Right, step number 2, identify the topic, and we know that this is on the topic of water that you learned in primary 5, more specifically on the topic of evaporation. Okay, on the topic of evaporation. Right, so step number 3, identify the science concept being tested. Now let's recall what does evaporation means. Okay, evaporation is a change of state from a liquid state to a gas state. This will happen only when it is able to gain heat. Right? So we know evaporation. All of you know the concept of evaporation is the change of state from liquid state to gas state. Okay, and the second concept that you need to know here, the second part here, when the strong wind blow, he felt even colder. Why? Again, you learn what are the factors affecting the rate of evaporation. Okay, one of the factors affecting the rate of evaporation is the presence of wind. Okay, you know the three concepts. The three factors affecting rate of evaporation. Number 1, the presence of wind. Number 2, the temperature of the surrounding. Number 3, the exposed surface area of the water. So these 3 concepts you need to know. These are in your syllabus. So in this particular question, the factor affecting rate of evaporation that they ask is about the presence of wind. Okay. Next, step 4. So once you identify the science concepts, next you need to be able to explain, right? So this is the explain part, is the tricky part, right? So you need to link the concepts to the question. Okay, so we know that when Wen Hao stepped out from the swimming pool, there were water droplets around his body. So what will happen to the water droplets, right? The water droplets will evaporate. So when the water droplets evaporate, it will gain heat, right? Because we know that change of state from liquid to gas, there's a gain of heat, right? So when the heat gain, right, the water droplets gain heat to evaporate. So where does it gain the heat from? From Hao's body, right? So why did he feel cold? Number 1, because his body loses heat to the water droplets which was on his body. So many of you will perhaps answer, he feels the water droplets evaporate. So this is incomplete. The question is, why did Wen Hao feel cold? So do we feel cold because we gain coldness? No, we feel cold because our body loses heat, right? When we loses heat, we feel cold. Now, some of you may explain, because Wen Hao loses to the surrounding. No, here, yes, it loses heat to the surrounding. However, the key concept here is about evaporation. Why? Because you see from the question, there are water droplets. He was wet, right? His body was wet. So when his body was wet, the question asking about how the water droplets, his wet body, causes him to feel cold, right? So you need to link to the concept of evaporation. So Wen Hao feel cold because his body loses heat to the droplets of water that were evaporating, right? Or the water droplets gain heat from his body to evaporate into water vapor. And the second part of the question, you need to explain that. What about when the strong wind blew? So when the strong wind blew, what happened? It increases the rate of evaporation. So when it increases the rate of evaporation, he will feel even colder, right? So all of us have experienced this before. When we come out from the swimming pool, quickly we will take a piece of towel to wipe the water droplets from our body, right? So we quickly go, right? Or if we feel, or we just go to the toilet, right? Okay, so here you need to elaborate using scientific concepts on what is happening in the situation. Okay, all right, let's move on to the next question. Okay, is everyone ready? All okay? Can, huh? Is everyone following? Very good. Okay, if you have any question, Nadira, okay, if you don't understand, anybody don't understand, please write down your question, your queries on a piece of, later on, you can ask me, I will give you lots of time for during the answer and question session. Okay, during the Q&A session. All right, so please write down any queries that you may have. We will go back to those questions. Okay, now let's move on to the next question. Okay, now this question, the diagram shows how a platform can move a man on a wheelchair up or down the stairs. Okay, so the platform electrical energy to move. Explain. Okay, again, you can see here the word explain. It's a very scary word. Okay, but you must remember, you need to get the full mark, 1 mark or 2 mark. You must be able to elaborate using scientific concept. If you examine your question, your answers, where if there's no scientific concept, confirm chop, you will not get the marks. Okay, remember, you must elaborate using scientific concept, because okay, you are taking science exam, right? You're not taking English comprehension exam. The examiner wants to see your understanding, okay, of the applying the scientific concept to the situation. Okay, please remember that. All right, so step number 1, observe and list the key objects. Okay, number 1, you see that the man is on a wheelchair, and there is an electrical platform to move up or down the stairs. Okay, so it uses electrical energy. Okay, it uses electrical energy to move up and down the stairs. Okay, step number 2, identify the topic. Identify the topic. Here, you need to know that the topic being tested is on the topic of forces. Okay, more specifically, gravitational force and frictional. Okay, this topic you have learned. Most of you learn in basics. Some of you may have learned at the end, towards the end of primary 5. Okay, so topic is 1. If you identify the wrong topic, that's it. You'll not be able to answer, because this could be on the topic of electricity. Yes, electricity is involved, but the question asks you related to the topic of forces. Okay, so step number 3, identify the science concepts. Okay, identify the science concepts. So number 1, you need to recall gravity or gravitational force, right? What is gravity? You must be able to explain, elaborate what is gravity, what's the difference between gravitational force and gravity, right? So in this context, gravity is the correct concept, okay, which causes all objects to be pulled towards Earth, right? If you throw something up, it will come down, right, because of gravity. Second concept being tested here is friction or frictional force. Okay, what is frictional force? It's the opposite force that exists when 2 objects are moving against each other. Okay, so step number 3. So step number 4. Okay, step number 4. Step number 4 is you need to explain the scientific phenomenon by linking the science concept identified back to the question. Okay, so firstly, the question they ask you, why is it that the man or the person, the platform uses more energy when it is moving up? So remember, when it moves up, you need to overcome 2 things. Number 1, you need to overcome friction, right? Secondly, you need to overcome gravity, right? I repeat, when you are going up, like you're going up the stairs, you need to overcome gravity, right? Secondly, you need to overcome friction. So in this situation here, right, the gravity will pull the platform down, right? And when you are going up, you also have to overcome friction, the friction which exists between the platform and the fixtures here and the railings. Okay, so when you have to overcome 2 kinds of forces, one is gravitational force and the other one is frictional force, you need more electrical energy compared to when the man is coming down. Why? When coming down, does he have to overcome gravity? No, right? He only have to overcome frictional force. Okay, so you must be able to explain. I repeat, when going up the stairs, the platform requires more electrical energy. Why? To overcome 2 kinds of forces. Number 1, frictional force. Number 2, gravitational force. Okay, however, when he is coming down, you only have to overcome frictional force. All right, all is the same that when you go up to your class. Some of you, your classes are on the 4th floor, some of you on the 6th floor, some of you on the 8th floor, right? When you want to climb up the stairs, very tiring, correct? Very tiring. When you want to go down, go to recess from your classroom from the 4th floor. Wow, everybody will, why it is much easier to go down than go up. Very simple. When you go up, you want to go up the stairs, you need to overcome gravity. You need to overcome gravitational force. When you're going to downwards, right? When you're going down the stairs, you don't have to overcome gravity, because why? Gravity is pulling you downwards. You don't have to overcome. Likewise, when you are cycling, right? All of you, most of you know how to cycle, right? So when you are cycling up the hill, right? It's very tiring, right? You need lots of effort. Why? Because going up the hill, you need to overcome gravity. But when you're cycling downhill, you don't even have to cycle, right? Why? You don't have to cycle because gravity is pulling you down. Okay? So, but you still need some force to overcome the friction. Okay? Understand, huh? For this question? All right, very good. Okay, let's move on to the next question. All right. All of you okay? Okay, I give you 30 seconds to read the questions on your own. Okay, study the circuit diagram below. When Ahmad closed the switch S, he noted that the iron ball moved up and down between points A and B, and the lighted bulb turned on and off repeatedly. Okay, so in the diagram, the iron ball was resting on the two contacts, and explain why the light bulb lighted. So there are three questions, like three parts: part A, part B, and part C. Okay, so we are going to explain exactly what happens here. Why, number one, the iron ball moves up and down. Okay, so because why? You can see here in this question, they say that the iron ball, right, the iron ball moves up and down between points A and points B. Right, you can see here the iron ball goes up and down. And secondly, the light bulb is turned on and off. Okay, turn on and off. All right. Okay, so step number one. Okay, we are going to use the same step, right? The same thinking process. Step number one, identify at least the key objects mentioned in the question. Number one, you can see it is open your eyes and observe the question, all the items. Circuit diagram consisting of a battery. We have a switch. We have a bar, iron bar, coiled with a wire. So when you see an iron bar with a wire, confirm chop this on electromagnet. Okay, this is a very, very common question. They will always ask you at least one MCQ or open-ended question. Electromagnet is a very, very common question. So you must make sure you master the topic of electromagnet. Okay, and you have an iron contact with a small gap. So you observe here, there's a small gap. Remember, a gap causes the electrical circuit to be broken, right? It's an open circuit. To close the circuit, you must fill up the gap with something which can conduct electricity. Okay, so in this situation here, you have an iron ball. So the iron ball is in between the iron contacts. And what happened to the iron ball? The iron ball moves up and down, right? Moves up and down. Okay, so step number one. Sorry, step number one, we are done. So step number two, recall and identify the science topic being tested. So we know that this is the topic of electricity and electromagnet, which all of you learn in primary 5, electricity, and electromagnet, you all learn in primary 3 or primary 4. Okay, under the topic of magnets, where how to create magnets. One of the methods of creating magnet is using an electromagnet. Okay, step number 3, identify the science concepts being tested. So this is about making electromagnet. The iron bar can be magnetized and demagnetized. Okay, so the iron bar is a magnetic object. However, it's not a magnet. So, and a coil of wire in a closed circuit around the iron bar, you can magnetize the iron bar. Okay, this is what we call an electromagnet. Okay, so when the circuit is closed, when it's a complete circuit, it will become an electromagnet, right? It will become an electromagnet, and the iron bar will become magnetized. When you turn off, right? When you switch it off, when there's a gap in the circuit, it will be demagnetized. Please remember the concepts here: magnetize, demagnetize. Okay, so this is the keywords that you have to use when answering this kind of electromagnet question. Okay, now let's answer the question itself. step number 4. So what happens? Why does the iron ball moves up and down? Okay, why does the iron ball moves up and down? And why does the light bulb here, okay, turns on and off? Okay, so here, first, we see what happened here when they close the circuit. Okay, when the switch is on, right? When the switch is on, when there's a closed circuit, right, the light bulb will be switched on. Okay, and since the iron ball is resting at position A, okay, this forms a closed circuit, right? So when this forms a closed circuit, the iron bar will be magnetized. So what happens when the iron bar is magnetized? It will attract iron ball to B, right? From position A to position B. You understand? Right? However, when the iron ball is at position B, what happened now? What happened to the iron contact? Okay, what happened to iron contact? There will be a closed or an open circuit. Okay, so you can see that it will become an open circuit. Why there's an open circuit? Because there's a gap. Okay, because there's a gap, right? So when there's a gap, it becomes an open circuit. When it becomes an open circuit, there's no electricity flowing. So the iron bar, what will happen? It will become demagnetized. Okay, it will become demagnetized. And when it's demagnetized, what will happen? It becomes a closed circuit and the light bulb will turn off. At the same time, the iron ball will drop from position B back to position A. Okay, will drop from position B back to position A. Okay, understand? Huh? And when it drops back to position A, so what will happen? It becomes a closed circuit. So it becomes a closed circuit. The light bulb here will turn on again. Okay, and the metal bar will be magnetized again, and you will attract the iron ball again to position B. Right? So this process will be repeated. Right? The iron ball will go up and down, up and down, up and down, and the light bulb will turn on and off repeatedly. Okay, now let me ask you this question. Okay, let's ask Muaz. Muaz, are you there? Muaz, are you there? Okay, since you like to chat, all right, I'm going to ask you this question. Okay, Muaz, when the iron ball moves up and down and the light bulb turn on and off repeatedly, right? Does it continue forever? Muaz, does it continue forever? Is it a continuous process? Yes or no? Probably. No, not probably. It's either yes or no answer. Muaz, yes or no? Okay, some of you say yes, some of you say no. All right. So Muaz, I want you to pay attention. All right. Okay. Those of you who say no. Okay, Chiwai, I saw that you say no, right? Now, can you explain why does this process you say no? Chiwai, are you there? The answer is correct. It will stop after some time. Okay, it will stop after some time. Okay, Razik, that's not the answer. Chiwai, can you try and answer? Very good. Sarah has the answer. Okay, very good. Now this process will continue until the battery becomes flat. Like what Chiwai say, until the battery runs out, right? Because remember, this is a battery, right? The battery doesn't last forever, right? It will continue. The circuit will continue until a point where the battery becomes flat, or the battery energy. So then it will stop. The entire thing will stop. Then you need to replace the battery. Okay, understand? All right. Okay, very good. This is a battery. Remember, it consists of chemical potential energy, right? So chemical potential energy produces electrical energy. All right. Okay, very good. Let's move on to the next question. Camel question. Okay, camel question. Alright, okay, so this is the last question. Okay, so animal H lives in the desert. Okay, so this question, did not even, the PSA did not even specify what animal is that, but all of us know, right? This is a camel. Okay, so this is a part B question. Part B question, it asks you, if this animal stands on a hot sand with 4 long legs, based on the above findings, explain why having long legs is an advantage animal H. Okay, now when I ask student just this question itself, okay, many of you will answer, give a very strange answer. Okay, which may not be strange, right? For example, some of you said, oh, so that the camel will not fall or will not get trapped on soft sand. Okay, which makes sense, okay, but it is not an accepted answer. Okay, or some of you may say that, oh, because having long legs, okay, they can walk faster. Okay, correct, but wrong. Very strange, right? So in science, sometimes your answer seem logical to many people, including your parents. Your parents, my child answer is logical, but the teacher gives 0 marks. Remember, in this particular question, no, this is part B. Okay, this is part B, meaning when the question has 2 parts, part A and part B, you will need to link, right? You will need to link between those 2 questions. The answers to part B will be, the clue to answer part B will be based on the experiment or the concepts in the earlier part. Okay, so Razik said long legs helps to walk through the sand easily. Is wrong answer. Why wrong answer? Okay, now let's take a look at part A. Part A, this is the earlier part. Aisha filled a container made of wood with water at 60 degrees Celsius. So the water is at 60 degrees Celsius. The temperature of water remained at 60 degrees Celsius throughout the experiment. She measured the temperature of the air at various distance y from the inner surface. And this is the table given to you. So you can see here, as y increases, which is the distance between the thermometer and the water, right? The temperature of air becomes lesser and lesser, right? It becomes lesser and lesser. So can you see the link and the camel itself? Can you see the link? Right? This hot water is like the hot sand. Correct? It's like the hot sand. And this distance y, right, is like the distance between the body of the camel and the hot sand. So you can see when the thermometer is moved further away from the hot water, the temperature measured, okay, is lesser and lesser. So likewise here, we will know that why the camel has long legs, so that the body of the camel is cooler, right, from the hot sand. Okay, because if the body is very close to the hot sand or touching the hot sand, right, the camel will feel very, very hot. Why? Because it will gain lots of heat transfer from the sand, from the hot sand to the body of the camel. So this, we can say that this is an adaptation. Okay, so let's go back to the steps. So step number 1, observe and list the key objects. So you know that the animal H has long legs. Number 2, link the questions to part A. Okay, you need to link. And then step number 2, recall and identify the science concept, which is heat. And what concepts? Temperature of air around the thermometer gain heat. Why? Because it gained heat from the hot water, right? So it gained heat from the hot water. And the further the distance y, the lesser heat is gained, right? Let's say gain, that's why the temperature is lesser. So explain step 4. So step 4, explain the phenomenon. Having long legs increases the distance between the body of the camel and the hot desert sand, and hence making its body cooler, okay, as the body will gain lesser heat. So that is the answer that they asked for, not that the legs can walk faster in the hot sand, or is not that it will not be trapped in the hot sand, but you have to link back the question in part A related to the distance between the body and the hot sand. Okay? All right. Okay. So we have come to the end of this webinar session. Oh, very good. Just nice. It's